Yeah, just go ahead and just start introducing it right now.
Okay. Welcome to The Urban Voice. This is episode 2 of many to come, and I look to hear from all listeners and viewers. If you agree, disagree, just let us know. It's your voice, and we want to be heard. You want to be heard. Let's be heard. Today's topic is education. I attended the Philadelphia public school system from 4th grade through high school. The system has its flaws, but there are people that do try to actually work for the children. Education is all about the children and getting them ready for the real world. I learned a lot, but there are some things that you fall short of. When you get to college, there are some kids that just went to different school systems that just know a lot more things that we haven't even been taught. And that's a flaw in the system. Now, they're actually talking about cutting $1.5 billion from the system, but what would that fix if the money is the issue, but the money needs to get to the children? New books, computers. I mean, every child should actually have a laptop. But there's a true fact that if a child by the 3rd grade can't read and is a behavior problem, they actually build a jail cell for that child. So we need to get our children better prepared so they won't end up dead or in jail. Today we have a co-host. I have James Holliday, and we have a panelist, Keyon Mallory. Keyon, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, my name is Keyon Mallory. I'm co-founder of phillychange, community helping the new generation excel nonprofit organization. We're out of the Philadelphia community. We do a lot of community events, such as our yearly school supply giveaway, our alternative Halloween event that we do for safety for students that don't want to be going to different people's homes. We do a lot of clothing drives and coat drives and that sort of thing. We're also right now in the process of starting our mentoring program for students between the ages of 12 and 18. So we're looking for girls and boys between those ages, and we're also looking for mentors between the ages of 21 to 35. If interested, you can contact us at phillychange, the number 1 at AOL.com.
Thanks, Keyon. With our topic today being education, there is many questions and issues that need to be expressed but haven't been really expressed through the media. So today we're going to touch on a few of those questions. The first question is, why out of everything that could be cut from the budget will education be hit so hard when education needs to be a top priority?
Well, it seems to me that as a whole, that the people in charge do not care about the black community, Latino community, and for that matter, the public school system as a whole. If they're willing to make these huge tax cuts, that's basically a slap in our face that they could care less about how we're doing. It's sad to say, but they just don't really care about us. Michael Jackson said it best.
I definitely agree. I also like to add that I think especially public schools in particular, they're an easy target for the politicians to cut, especially in the public schools where a majority of the students in those public schools are minority, and we've shown as minorities that we're not as enthused about putting a stop to certain things that come into our community, and I feel like we're an easy target to reduce funding so they can use it for various other things.
Yes, I agree also, and to add to that, education and the budget that it has, it's insufficient. Like, education should be one of the highest areas where spending is given out by the government. But it seems like year after year you hear about, okay, we're going to cut education again. More teachers are going to lose their jobs, and so on and so forth. Sometimes they even close down schools. Like, with this going on, like, I don't understand how the children are being focused upon as the top priority. Like, we have to just be heard pretty much, and just try to stand up to the system so the system can ultimately work better for the children.
Now, with the budgets being cut, it's going to be a struggle with everything, but are the teachers to blame, or is it the people who are in charge of the system that hold the blame for the current status of the education system? I personally, it's full circle. To me, it starts in the home, and if the parents don't seem to care, then the children won't care. And then if a teacher has a classroom of students who don't care, it's a trickle-down effect. They will lose interest. They're just collecting checks and watching your kids. If no one's motivated to get things done, nothing is really going to get done. So I can't put the blame single-handedly on anyone. It's a drop for everyone, and something needs to change.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think it's a domino effect. You have the system, and they're not fulfilling the needs of the teachers, and then the teachers fail to fill the needs of the students. And when the students go home, a lot of their parents are from the same public school system, so they haven't received the proper education that they need. So they're not as enthused about checking on homework and making sure assignments are getting done and that sort of thing. So I think it's a domino effect, and I believe that we have to kind of nip it in the bud somewhere. I mean, the system as a whole needs to come up with a way to properly provide their staff with the tools needed so that they can be successful in teaching their students. And then we need to touch the students in their individual spaces and not focus so much on the overall classroom, and touch each student individually. And I believe we can make some improvements.
Okay, that add to that, the system, as far as the education goes, it's flawed from the top to the bottom. Like it was stated before, the system is pretty much designed as a profit making machine. So when you turn something like education into a for-profit kind of thing, it's damaging. If the administrators and everything are not interested in motivating and accommodating the teachers, then those teachers aren't going to be motivated to try to spark the brain or the interest of the children. So you can't really blame the teachers or the administrators. It's pretty much like Keyon said, a domino effect, and involves both. So there needs to be a change from the top to the bottom. Okay, on to the next question. What is the major reason that the education system across the country is ultimately failing?
I personally blame it on the lack of the haves truly not caring about the have-nots. If I educate my children, then my legacy will keep going and we'll keep profiting. And if we cut the education of the public system, which most people are using, then they'll be lost and continue to be lost. If knowledge is power, then they want to keep it for themselves. So if I miseducate or mistreat the have-nots, then they won't even know the first step to coming up and trying to take what we have, and that's where it's at. I believe that they really just don't care. It's up to you. They try to put the blame on us, and we do have to step it up. But how can we step it up if we're coming up generation after generation being mistaught?
Definitely, kind of to piggyback off of that is definitely I'm a college graduate. I have a master's degree, but I'm probably I know I'm the only person in my family that has at least a master's degree, and it's only a couple of us that even have bachelor's degrees, and that comes from generations and generations of my family members struggling to take care of their families, because most of them ended up being single parents, and their focus was on putting food on the table and not so much on the education side. So if you had those generations and generations of people, what you expect going to happen? I kind of got out of that somehow, some way, but I think that was more of my individual motivation, but everybody's not going to be motivated in that same way to change their outlook on their future. Just like Jason was saying, most families that come from having something, they instill that in their children, so they're going to build generations and generations of individuals that's going to want to be educated and know the importance of having an education. When you have someone in my shoes where that wasn't so much the focus, so we have to try to come together. We have to try to come together and make more of an emphasis on overall schooling, from public schools to the Catholic schools to the private schools, and not so much focus on taking away funding from public schools.
Okay. I also agree with that, but I'm gonna take a different direction on that. I think the ultimate reason for the system failing is because the administrators and the higher ups are more worried about meeting the budget than actually the education and knowledge that is being instilled into the children. I disagree that with the whole thing. I'm sorry, I don't agree that there should even be a budget associated with education, because how can you put a limitation on on the future? Education is preparing the children for the future. So how can you put limitations and cuts on what the future holds? If you limit and hold back things for the future, that's going to limit everything in society. So we have to fix that and get the focus back on what it's supposed to be, and that's the children.